Dear learners, I am Dr. Shweta Tripathi, Assistant Professor in Mechanical Engineering from School of Engineering and Technology, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. I welcome you all in this module of Applications of Wind Energy in the MOOCs of Energy Resources and Conversion Process. The learning outcomes of this module is to understand the design considerations for the utilization of wind energy, to discuss the factors determining the economics and feasibility of wind power project, to discuss the various aspects of application of wind energy in windmills, aerogenerators and wind solar hybrid plants, to discuss the success story of these applications in India. As we have already discussed the basics of the wind energy and the generation of power from wind turbines in our previous modules. In this module, we will be discussing the various applications of wind energy and what are the design considerations that are important to be considered for these applications. We will also discuss the success stories across the India in the implementation of these applications of wind energy. If we talk about the size application, it depends totally upon the size of the wind turbines or wind power plant. Basically, there are three sizes of wind power plants that are available. One is small, which generate power less than 10 kilowatt, intermediate, which generate power in the range of 10 to 250 kilowatt, and the large, where it develops the power from 660 kilowatt to 2 megawatt or above 250 kilowatt up to 2 megawatt. If we talk about the applications of these small wind power plants, their applications are at homes, farms and in the remote applications. For the intermediate size power plants are generally used in the village power, we use them in the hybrid systems and we use them in the distributed power sectors. For the large size power plant, we use them at central station wind farms or distributed power and community wind power plants. The large and small wind turbines are totally different. The large turbines, these are installed in wind farm arrays totaling 1 to 100 megawatt, that is 1000 kilowatt. These are designed for low cost of energy and it requires 6 meter per second of wind velocity, or we can say 13 minutes per hour. The average site is able to deliver electricity at lower cost than smaller turbines because the foundation cost, planning cost, etc. are independent of the size. These are well suited for offshore wind plants, and in the areas where it is difficult to find sites, one large turbine on a large tower uses the wind extremely efficiently. If we talk about these small turbines for 0.3 to 100 kilowatt power generation, as we discussed that these are installed in rural residential areas for on-grid and off-grid applications. These are designed for reliability and are having low maintenance. The wind speed required for these turbines is 4 meter per second or 9 minutes per hour, and local electrical grids may not be able to handle the large electrical output from a large turbine, so smaller turbines may be more suitable in that case. High cost for foundations for large turbines may not be economical in some areas, and we could consider the landscape considerations as well for the small turbine applications. If we generally talk about the design consideration, the main component is the design of the blades. Generally, the most common design that is available in this wind turbines is a three-bladed turbine, and the most important reason for this is the stability of the turbine. Generally, a rotor with an odd number of rotor blades can be considered, but at least there should be 3 blades. Even number of blades will give stability problems for a machine with a stiff structure. Therefore, we avoid even number of blades and go for the odd number of the blades. The reason for that is that at the very moment when the uppermost blade bends backward, because it gets the maximum power from the wind, because when wind is blowing, what happens, the uppermost blade gets the maximum thrust or the maximum power from the wind, and the lowermost blade passes into the windshield in the front of the tower. So this is the reason why we go for the odd number of blades. Other design considerations are the ground surface at altitudes up to 100 meters. The wind is mostly influenced by this, and wind is slowed by the surface roughness and the obstacles in between. So it should be a clear form. There should be no obstacles there. And when we are dealing with the wind energy, we are concerned with the surface winds mostly. A wind turbine obtains its power output by converting the force of the wind into a torque. So what is torque? It is a turning force that is acting on the rotor blades. The amount of energy which the wind transfers to the rotor generally depends upon the density of the air, rotor area, and the wind speed. We have already derived the derivation for this in our previous module and have seen that how it is dependent upon this. Some of the other design considerations are the kinetic energy. As we know that kinetic energy of a moving body is proportional to its mass, or we can say weight. The kinetic energy in the wind is hence dependent upon the density of air. Then what is density? It is mass per unit of volume. So in other words, we can say that heavier the air is, the more energy will be received by the turbine. Typically, if we talk about the weight of air at 15 degrees centigrade, it is about 1.225 kg per cubic meter. This density will be decreased slightly with increasing humidity as well. If we talk about a typical 600 kilowatt wind turbine, it has a rotor diameter of meters, that is a rotor area of some 1500 square meters. The rotor area determines how much energy a wind turbine is able to harvest from the wind. To be considered a good location for wind energy, an area is needed which has average annual wind speed of at least 12 miles per hour. Generally, these windmills are built in such a manner that it too severely interrupts the airflow through its cross section, and it will reduce the effective wind velocity at that particular location and divert much of the airflow around itself. Hence, the maximum power will be extracting from the wind. At the other extreme, a windmill that intercepts a small fraction of the wind passing through its cross section will reduce the wind's velocity by only a small amount, thus extracting only a small fraction of the power from the wind traversing in the windmill disc. Generally, these modern windmills can attain an efficiency of about 60% of the theoretical maximum. Now, what are the drivers that have been affecting these wind power? What are the driving force that we are going for these wind powers? One is the declining wind costs these days. Fuel price is uncertain, and our federal and state policies are also responsible for this, and the economic development that is going throughout the country. We are going for the green power, and wind energy is a green power. There is no emission involved with it. And the last but not least is the energy security. We want our nation to be secured at the point from the point of the energy. We want to generate energy locally. What are the different factors which are responsible for the economics of this wind power? The very first factor which determines the economics is the resource. So in the case of wind power also, the wind resource is the major factor which determines the economics. And as India has the coastal land, lot of coastal land, so we have the wind resource to generate ample amount of the wind power. Then another factor, that is financing and ownership structure, taxes and policy incentives. Apart from these, the plant size equipment, its installation and operation and maintenance are the major chunk which determine the economics of a project. The economics of a scale is equally important. The turbine size, the model that we are going to use, and the height of the tower is also responsible for the economics that is involved with the wind power generation. Greenfield or site expansion is also there, and this site expansion generally include land, transmission, ancillary services, etc. Then comes what are the economic development impacts. Actually, the land lease payments are 2 to 3 times of the gross revenue, that is 2,500 to 4,000 per megawatt per year. Local property tax revenue for 100 megawatt brings in on the order of 5 lakh to 1 million per year. And generally, if we talk about in the terms of per megawatt, 1:2 job during the construction period is there. Then 2 to 5 job offers per 5,200 megawatt. Permanent job for operation and maintenance is there. Then local construction and service industry also involves some economics. Concrete towers are usually done locally. Investment as equity owner production tax credit is also there, and there is accelerated depreciation value of these power plants as well. Then what are the deployment issues for this wind power? Permitting and siting, generally we have discussed the various disadvantages that are associated with the wind power generation, visual, noise, avian, land use, etc. that we had already discussed in our previous module. Transmission capacity allocation is another key deployment issue for the wind powers. New line builds or planning is also an issue. Power variability impact on utility operations. Evolving competitive markets is also an issue. The green power markets, policy environment, and state tax provisions are some of the key deployment issues for wind power generation. Wind turbine generators. We had discussed that wind power generators are the machines or generally the conversion devices which convert wind energy to electrical energy, that is mechanical energy to electrical energy. This generator is attached at one end of the wind turbine, which provides the mechanical energy, and at the other end the generator is connected to the electrical grid. The generator needs to have a cooling system to make sure that there is no overheating as well. Generally, two kinds of generators are there, the small generators and large generators, depending upon the power requirement or the application where we are going to install this power. Generally, the small generators require less force to turn than larger ones, but they give much lower power output. They are less efficient. That is, if we want to fit a large wind turbine rotor with a small generator, it will be producing electricity during many hours of the year, but it will capture only a small part of the energy content of the wind at high wind speeds. Then comes the large generators. These are very efficient at high wind speeds, but are unable to turn at low wind speeds. That is, if the generator has larger coils and or a stronger internal magnet, it will require more force mechanical to start motion. Then what are the processes that are involved in the wind project development? If we talk about the step by step, first is the site selection. We have to select a site where we will be getting the average annual wind that is required. The land should be free. Generally, the land should be infertile as well. So site selection is the main. Then comes the land agreements. Then we have to assess the wind. What is our assessment about the wind? Then we will take the environmental review about this power project as well. Then we will do an economic modeling, that whatever wind speed we are getting, how much power we are going to generate from it, and in which cost the electricity will be finally available to us, and what is the costing that we are giving there, right from the installation capital cost, installation cost, operation cost, and maintenance cost, including the cost of the labors, materials as well. So economic modeling of the project is equally important. Then comes the interconnection studies, permitting sales agreements, financing, where we will get the finances for this. Then we will procure the turbine, the construction, contracting will go on, and then after installation, the operations and maintenance will be a continuous process for the cycle for which the project has been developed. Now comes the applications of wind energy. These wind energy found their applications mainly in water pumping windmills, aerogenerators, small wind electric generators, and wind solar hybrid systems. These are mainly found useful for meeting water pumping and small power requirements in a decentralized mode in rural and remote windy areas of India. The MNRE, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, is implementing a program on small wind energy and hybrid systems to promote utilization of water pumping windmills, aerogenerators, and wind solar hybrid systems for water pumping and power generation. Let us discuss water pumping windmill. A water pumping windmill pumps water from wells, ponds, and borewells for drinking, minor irrigation, salt farming, fish farming, etc. Generally, there are two types of windmills: direct drive and gear type. It depends upon from where they get the drive. The most commonly used windmill has a horizontal axis rotor of a 3 to 5.5 meter diameter with 12 to 24 plates mounted on the top of a 10 to 20 meter high mild steel tower. The rotor is coupled with a reciprocating pump of 50 to 150 mm diameter through a connecting rod. Such windmills start lifting water when wind speed approaches 8 to 10 km per hour. Normally, a windmill is capable of pumping water in the range of 1000 to 8000 liters per hour. Depending on the wind speed, the depth of water table, and the type of windmill. Generally, these are capable of pumping water from depth of 60 meter. Water pumping windmills have an advantage that no fuel is required for their operation, and thus they can be installed in remote windy areas where other conventional means of water pumping are not feasible. However, the water pumping windmills have limitations too. They can be operated satisfactorily only in medium wind regimes, that is 12 to 18 km per hour. Further, special care is needed at the time of site selection, as the site should be free from obstacles such as building and trees in the surrounding areas. The cost of the system being very high, many individual users do not find them affordable. The cost of a water pumping windmill varies from rupees 45,000 to rupees 1,50,000 depending on the type. In addition, rupees 10,000 to rupees 20,000 is required for the foundation, storage tank and the installation of the windmill. As the system involves moving parts, it requires frequent maintenance. The repair and maintenance cost of a windmill is about rupees 2,000 per year. Some subsidy is provided by the government for the same. Then if we talk about the success story of these water pumping windmills in India, AV55 type windmill is installed in and around Auroville have become the exclusive source of drinking water for the community, which is fully dependent on the water lifted by these windmills. The maximum number of water pumping windmills have been installed in Gujarat for irrigation and drinking water purposes. Then comes the aerogenerator. An aerogenerator is a small wind electric generator having a capacity of up to 30 kW. These are generally installed either in standalone mode or along with solar photovoltaic system to form a wind-solar hybrid system for decentralized power generation. These are suitable for power generation in unelectrified areas having adequate wind speeds, and generally the rotor of these kind of aerogenerators are of 1 to 10 meter diameter, having 2 to 3 blades, permanent magnet generator, control devices, yaw mechanism, tower, storage, battery, etc. The rotor of these aerogenerators starts moving at a wind speed of 9 to 12 km per hour. However, it produces optimum power at the rated wind speed of 40 to 45 km per hour. The limitation of not being able to provide power as and when it is required is overcome by storing it in a battery bank. The cost of aerogenerators are about rupees 2 to 2.5 lakhs per kilowatt. In addition to this, the cost of installation including civil works is estimated at about rupees 5,000 kilowatt, and if we assume the repair and maintenance cost to be about 2,000 rupees per kilowatt per year. There are few success stories of these aerogenerators as well in India. The West Bengal Renewable Energy Development Agency has installed 6 aerogenerators of 3 kilowatt capacity, each in the existing solar power photovoltaic power plants at Sagar and Mausani Islands. A number of aerogenerators have been installed by the Maharashtra Energy Development Agency and are working satisfactorily. An aerogenerator of 3.2 kilowatt capacity is installed at Manashakti Research Center, Lonawala, and the electricity supplied by this aerogenerator is to illuminate 22 street lights on the road which are connecting to the center's hostel to the highway. This is visible from the Mumbai-Pune highway as well. Then comes the wind-solar hybrid systems. When an aerogenerator and an solar photovoltaic system are interfaced, the power generation from these are mutually supplemented, and hence they are called the resultant hybrid system. And these kind of systems are more reliable and more cost effective in terms of the electric supply in a decentralized mode. The wind-solar hybrid system mainly consists of 1 or 2 aerogenerators along with solar photovoltaic panels of suitable capacity, which is connected with either charge controller, inverter, battery bank, etc. to supply AC power. The major advantage of this system is that it meets the basic power requirements of non-electrified remote areas where grid power has not reached yet. If we talk about the economics behind these kind of hybrid systems, the power generated from both wind and solar components is taken care of. The cost of the system varies from rupees 2.5 lakhs to rupees 3.5 lakhs per kilowatt, depending on the ratio of the components of wind and solar. The approximate cost of installation, including civil work, is about rupees 10,000 per kilowatt, and repair and maintenance cost is about rupees 3,000 per kilowatt per annum. However, we get lot of subsidy by the government for this system. If we talk about the success story in India, the wind-solar hybrid systems have been installed for a variety of applications. Some of them have been installed on islands and in coastal areas. Notable project is a 5 kilowatt capacity wind-solar hybrid system which is installed at Vagatar Beach in Goa, which has become a destination point for tourists as well. And this system eliminates 60 CFLs of 18 watt rating, and these CFLs are not only source of elimination are the only source of elimination on the beach. A 15 kilowatt wind solar hybrid system has recently been installed at the famous pilgrimage site of Bhimashankar Devasthan in Pune, Maharashtra. This system provides electricity to meet the needs of the entire temple complex. It has become a point of attraction for a large number of devotees visiting this temple complex. A large number of wind-solar hybrid systems have been installed in Maharashtra, including a unit that provides power to the local area network of computers and other needs in their own office complex in Pune. Generally, the system availability and repair or servicing facility for these water pumping windmills, aerogenerators and wind solar hybrid systems are installed through state nodal agencies using central subsidy, and the state nodal agencies are responsible for providing repair or service facilities through the respective manufacturers. If we talk about the potential of these water pumping windmills, aerogenerators and wind solar hybrid system in India, if we talk about water pumping mills, they require only medium wind regimes, and they are considered if we consider the availability of required wind speeds and the level of the prevailing water table, potential exists for installing water pumping windmills in almost all states except in hilly and rocky regions. The aerogenerators and wind solar hybrid system require high wind speeds and good solar radiation as well, so the potential exists for their installation in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat, Karnataka, Kerala, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Odisha, Rajasthan, Tamil Nadu, Uttaranchal, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal and some of the windy regions of Jammu Kashmir and all northeastern states as well. If we talk about the achievement in India regarding these windmills and aerogenerators, so far about 1000 water pumping windmills and 380 kilowatt aggregate capacity of aerogenerators, wind solar hybrid systems have been installed throughout in the country. We have already discussed the various limitations of these wind power in our previous modules. However, the major are when the wind doesn't blow. Generally, do we need a fossil-fired generating units to be kept running on a standby basis in the case when the wind dies down? Certainly no. Generally, the wind speeds rise and fall gradually, and the system operator has time to move other plants on and offline as needed. Typically, a 100 megawatt wind plant requires about 2 megawatt of conventional capacity to compensate for changes in wind. The wind energy can reliably provide 20% or more of our electricity. Another major limitation was the lifetime environmental impact. The manufacturing wind turbines and building wind plants does not create large emissions of carbon dioxide. Then the other one was the noise. Noise is used to be a very serious problem for the wind energy industry. It is quite annoying from as much as a mile away. Aerodynamics and soundproofing have been improved significantly, and the wind turbines operate when the wind is blowing, which tends to be louder than the turbine noise. A modern operating wind farm at a distance of 750 to 1000 feet is no noisier than a kitchen refrigerator or a moderately quiet room. Then the electrical power quality of these wind power. Generally, it is not a concern for low penetration. The weak grid and grid reinforcement problems may occur if a turbine is connected to a weak electrical grid which can be reinforced. Power quality problems caused by wind farms are the exact mirror image of connecting of a large electricity user. For example, if we are connecting it with a factory with large electrical motors to the grid. Sometimes electrical flicker is there. What is flicker? It is a short-lived voltage variation in the electrical grid which may cause light bulbs to flicker. It may occur if a wind turbine is connected to a weak grid, and to reduce this, we could reduce it with proper turbine design as well. Then the TV and radio reception. The modern small wind turbines will not interfere with communication signals. The material used to make such machines are non-metallic generally. Some turbines are too small to create electromagnetic interference by chopping up a signal. Large wind turbine can interfere with radio or TV signals if a turbine is in the line of sight between the receiver and the signal source. To alleviate the problems, we could improve the receiver's antenna, or we could install relays to transmit the signal around the wind farm. So we can say that all the limitations could be overcome. So let us summarize whatever we have discussed. We have discussed the features and design consideration of a wind power plant. We have discussed the various applications of wind energy such as windmill, aerogenerators and solar wind hybrid system with their success stories as per Indian scenario. We have discussed the potential and achievement of these wind energy in India. We have also discussed the important deployment issues such as electrical power quality, TV and audio recipient, noise, etc. Thank you very much.